see my face.
Right.
For the fourth time this summer, fourth.
Playing disc golf.
Wow. Well, you know, as long as it was out of nature, that's.
Yeah.
So hey, everybody that's just tuned in. If you have cameras and want to turn them on, that's awesome. If not, totally cool. Also, we're just waiting a few more minutes for other people to jump in. If you want to just hop in and tell us where you're calling from, what you love to do, we love that. Sarah. Oh, there we go. Bringing the kids in. I think this might be one of the first times that kids and parents are in the same Zoom together. I don't know, but it feels that way, and I'm excited. We're very excited to try this out and see and do this experiment together. So thanks for jumping in. Hello. Sarah, where are you calling from?
Hi, how are you? I'm calling, hi Georgie, I'm calling from Melbourne in Australia. So yeah, I know Georgie, so yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, it's probably not morning for you guys, is it?
Not for me, but
No.
this is the magic of what we get to do in these times, is to connect around the world. We're really excited. We have a worldwide team of what we call foot nerds, which some of you might be familiar with, some of you might not. I think it's 7:05 and we actually have a lot to cover. So I might just kick this off. We're going to be recording. Hey, Sarah, how are you? There's a lot of movement facilities logging in here today. I'm really loving this. I think the other one just popped off. So I really want to give this a little more time. I know this is probably a kind of difficult coordination for parents with kids, especially. For those of you who have your cameras off, feel free to turn them on. I wanted to start off with a little video that I was actually watching last night. The guy who created the company Segway, which is, you know, that machine that you kind of ride with two wheels that balances. He's a serial inventor, and he's been a very, he's been just creating his entire life and doing amazing things. And he talks about the educational system and the fact that if you diagnose a problem the wrong way, then you're not going to really get to an answer. And I think that he touched on it really well, which is that the problem with education today is not the education itself, but rather the culture around it, which is who we look up to and what we perceive around us as being role models. And so I'm really excited for all of you here today to be on, and especially those of you who log on with your kids and who want to do this together with your children, because it is such an amazing way to shift the paradigm of modern culture by participating with your kids in a conversation around health. Again, this is not this TFC home unschooling tribe project is really not focused on whether your kids go to school or not. That's up to you. But what we want to do is open up a conversation between parents and teachers, all of us together, to really empower each other to connect with each other around health topics. So we've gathered some amazing foot nerds from around the world who are each going to address a different pillar of health. We have movement, mindset, sleep, food, and community, and they're going to introduce themselves. I'm not going to go through that, but basically we're going to go one pillar at a time. There's going to be information, there are going to be activities, there's going to be experiments to take home after. And for you guys all, you're welcome to participate in different ways. You can be actively engaged with your camera on, with your mute turned off, asking questions, jumping in, butting in. Whenever you have any question at all, raising your hand or just saying, hey, I didn't understand what you said, I want to hear more. For all the little humans in here, hi little humans, you know who you are. Can you wave? Hi. All right. Anyway, if you guys want to say anything, also jump in and say something, ask questions. We want to hear from you. Very important. We're going to have a lot of fun today. We're going to do some things that are kind of weird. I'm just letting you know up front because I want you guys to just do the activity, even if it feels weird, even if it feels like it makes no sense. We've been working on this for a few weeks now, and we're so excited to deliver this to you. Another thing I wanted to share, there's actually a WhatsApp group that we put together that we're going to keep the conversation going after because we're going to give you some experiments. So I'm actually going to flash it right now on the screen. And what I want you to do is if you have your phone available, you can just pull your camera up to the QR code and it'll send you to a link that will then take you directly to the WhatsApp chat group so that after this is done, we're going to keep the conversation going. And this is the place that we're going to really use to keep chatting. Even though this is going to be a lot of us sharing things with you, the real purpose of this is for you to tell us what life is like right now, what you're hearing, what you're feeling, what you want to hear more about, what you're confused about. We're here to really, again, empower you guys. And the way that we can do that is by all of you telling us what's up, what's going on. I'm gonna turn off the screen share. What I'll do is I'll send you a link after, which you can also use to get into the WhatsApp chat. And that's all I really have. We have a lot to cover here, and it's gonna be a journey. And so I'm gonna pass it directly over to Ruth, who's gonna kick us off with the movement section. So everybody say hi, Ruth.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Ruth, and hi. Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you all. I'm Ruth, I'm here in California, and I'm gonna facilitate the movement portion of our session together. I want to just start with a question. You can raise your hand if you love to play. Just raise your hand if you love to play, if you are a human and you love to play. Well, just as I suspected, humans love to move their bodies and play. So what are we doing here tonight around movement? I mean, we all agree that we are human and we love to move and play. Well, we're supporting the redefinition of what it means to move and play. We want you to go away tonight with two ideas. Number one, we want you to allow your children, to move and play freely for longer periods of time. But we don't just want you to let them move and play freely. We want them to get their entire bodies involved in the play. And the second thing we want you to leave with tonight is that we encourage parents, adults, and teachers to play with the children. So we want to encourage you to play with your bodies, fully engaged, dynamically with the children as well. And so why do we want to do that? We're not just, promoting this uncomfortable thing for adults, but science is actually supporting that when children are able to freely move for long periods of time, especially after 3 hours of structured activity like soccer practice, piano lessons, class work, homework, for every 3 hours of structure, a child should move their bodies freely, their entire bodies, for at least an hour. Right? So that sounds good, doesn't it? Raise your hand if that sounds good. And second of all, we want the adults to play with the children. Why do we want the adults to play with the children? Because science also supports the idea that the children will follow your physical lead more than they will follow your instructions. They will follow your example more than your verbal instructions. And so we want to talk about something called big body play. So children, I want to talk to you for a moment because this is about the adults around you. Big body play is like moving your whole body, right? Like all crazy like, and getting every part of your body engaged. Well, children know how to do that freely. You know how to do that. That comes easy to children, but it does not come easily or comfortably to adults. So this actual evening, the movement section is probably going to be a little more difficult for the adults here than it is for you. And so we're going to need you to help us lead. And our activity tonight is going to involve big body play. So while I'm talking to you, what I would like you to do is stand up. If you're not already standing, just stand up and feel what it feels like to stand on your 2 feet, which are amazing architectures, beautiful pieces of amazing machinery. And stand up while I explain to you that adults have a hard time moving freely and don't like to engage in big body play because it makes us uncomfortable to do that ourselves, and we don't encourage it in you because we're worried for your safety, that you're going to break a lamp in the house or that you're going to get injured, right? So our activity tonight is going to be, so everybody stand up. I can see some of you. We're going to do a little warm up, and then we're going to go through some movements together, and then you're going to have a home experiment afterwards. So what I want you to do first is bring your arms up like 2 goalposts and just start flapping your hands like wings or whatever else you can come up with, and flap as hard as you can. You're the boss of your body, that's the rule, and you do what feels right for you, and you can't get it wrong. Okay, now stop really fast. And now bring your arms up again, and you're gonna take your hands and flap them sideways like this. Flap them sideways, and now stop really fast and stay still, and notice how your body feels. And now take up your right hand, flap it forward and back. Take up your left hand and flap it sideways, and see if you can do the 2 opposite directions, and then stop. Nice. How's everybody doing? Take up the left hand and flap it forwards and back. Take the right hand and flap it sideways. Nice. And then just shake it all out. Great. And then just come to a stop, like freeze, real fast. And now put your hands on your heart and see if you can feel it beating. Acknowledge that you have an amazing heart. And we're going to go into our next movement that's going to have words. We're going to do it once with the words, and then we're going to do it singing all together. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to clasp your hands like this. And then you're going to waggle your arms like this. And this is wiggling the waggles out. So we're going to wiggle, wiggle, wiggle the waggles out. And then you're going to shake, shake, shake your whole body. Shake it. You're shaking the sillies out. So we're going to shake, shake, shake the sillies out. And now stop. And now we're going to jump, 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 jump the jitters out. So everybody jump, 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 jump the jitters out. Jump as hard or as soft as you want, and then come to a stop. I love seeing the adults doing it. And now we're going to jog the jiggles out. Jog the jiggles out. You're going to jog, 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 jog the jiggles out. And then stop. And now I want you to come to your computer, and everybody unmute your computer, and we're going to sing it, and we're going to do this activity together. Come on. Unmute it. So, are you ready? We're going to start with shaking the sillies out. I'll lead, and you join in when you learn the words. We're going to shake, shake, shake the sillies out. Shake, shake, shake the sillies out. Shake, shake, shake the sillies out. Wiggle the waggles away. We're going to jump, jump, jump the jitters out. Jump, jump, jump the jitters out. Jump, jump, jump the jitters out. Wiggle the waggles away. We're going to jog, jog, Jog the jitters out, jog, jog, jog the jiggles out, jog, jog, jog the jiggles out.
I'm tired.
Away. And now stop and put your hands on your heart.
Y ahora ponemos otra vez de buenos días.
Could you feel your heart pumping?
Mira,
I have a question. Children, how did the adults do? Did the adults in your household jump and jiggle and waggle and wiggle? Awesome.
Oh,
Okay, so
gotta
here's,
know.
yeah. Anybody want to jump in? Anybody have questions? Are you sweating? Did you have fun?
Yes.
Adults, did you feel uncomfortable? If you did, you're doing it right. So the next thing I want to go to is your home experiment. Your home experiment is around big body play. And this is geared towards the adults, but I want the children to pay attention as well. So big body play is the play where your whole body is involved, but it's also the thing that makes adults uncomfortable. So like we don't encourage in our culture big body play because it makes adults nervous. When the child climbs higher in the tree, it makes us worry that they're gonna fall and hurt themselves. So we as an adult culture actually encourage small body play. Small body play is Legos, puzzles, building blocks, things that keep a child contained in a small space so that they don't get injured and lamps don't get broken. We want you, for your home experiment, to look around your inside home and your outside home and see if your environment encourages big body play, meaning you have a space in your home where you and your child, or at least your child, can get down on the ground and roll around with their entire body, or bounce with a big ball like this without worry of breaking something. And additionally, we want you to look outside, because big body play is not only using the entire body, but it's also moving things that offer a child's body resistance. Like if you go outside, can you collect things like tires and 2x4s and things that when the child pushes, pulls, carries, or otherwise uses, it offers their little body's resistance. So we don't want you to take our word for it. We want you to go out into your life, experiment with these ideas, which I know many of you already are, and then report back to us and keep the conversation going. So go play. It's time. I'm going to pass it back to Jeff.
Thanks, Ruth. That was awesome. Thank you so much. So a couple of things. This is, I'm having so much fun watching all of you guys jumping and playing, and it really is amazing. Parents, this is an experiment that we're doing. Let them play, let them have fun. Don't worry about it. This is being recorded, so you can get the details later. We hope you got the PDF. I'm just gonna pass it along to Brendan because we're gonna move into a totally different part of the journey now, and we're kind of gonna bring it all in, all that energy, we're gonna now bring it and contain it. So Brendan, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm Brendan Long, a teacher from Toronto, Ontario in Canada. And hopefully I know my internet connection is it's acting up a little bit right now, but hopefully everybody can hear me okay. So the mind filler, and there will be a little bit of information more for the adults, a little bit of information for the little mental and wellness is a huge issue, and especially in certain parts of the school system here in Canada, it's a big focus, but we definitely don't need any sort of illness or issue with our mental health and wellness to work on it and to develop resilience and get better with it. So the state of our mind is it's dependent on, sorry, I'm just reading. It's dependent on a couple of things. So it's dependent on our other pillars: sleep, food, community, and our movement. I'm just going to turn off my video and see if it makes my audio any better. So it's dependent on our other pillars. So sleeping well, eating well, interacting with our community well, and moving well and often is going to help our state of mind and our mental health. And then having a safe space at home and outside of the home, if that's in school, for learning is important for having a healthy mind. When we're talking about this, we're looking at our attention, and our attention gets pulled in lots of different directions. So things like technology and all sorts of different distractions lead to a scattered mind and give us trouble focusing on things. So what we would suggest for parents as some of the tips are having rules on tech use in the household and asking your kids, maybe have a conversation with them how much they think they should be on technology. And their suggestions are usually pretty reasonable. Further than that, connecting with the world around you and being present in what you're doing. So for little ones, that means focusing all your attention on whatever we're doing and giving our full effort to the activity at hand. Further than that, our challenge and our purpose in life are important for the health of our mind. So in order to have challenge and purpose, parents might be able to provide activities for their kids where they're challenged and where they have the ability to affect change in their own lives. So maybe discussing some things with them about the household where you can work together and complete projects together, both in education and in your daily lives. So in order to train the attention that I talked about earlier, we can use something called meditation, which is really just focusing on our mind and our breathing. So Jeff, would you just, before I go ahead, would you be able to let me know if you can hear me okay?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Awesome. So we're going to start with a simple meditation. So what it's going to look like is we're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds, and then hold for 4 seconds before continuing again. You can see the PDF up there on the screen. And I'll lead us through with the breathing by counting us off. So we'll start now, and if you're comfortable, join me in closing your eyes. So everybody close their eyes. And we'll start with a breath in for 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. 3 more times, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. One more time in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. And now we can go back to breathing normally. And I'd invite everybody to just kind of take note of how they're feeling. If they're able to tune into how their body's feeling, maybe how our mind's feeling, whether we're feeling tired, energetic, silly, just being aware of that. So by a show of hands, I can see a lot of people on the screens here. How many people have done something like that before? Something related to meditation or breathing? Awesome. Okay, so we got a number of people who are familiar with it. So what I would invite you to do is do this with the habit tracker that we have in the PDF, and try to make a daily routine of breathing or breathing in stillness, and then journaling, which you can use the emotions chart to make notes in. And try to do that every day for maybe 2 minutes would be a good start. Something small. And that will allow us time to have positive thinking, maybe pay attention to what our mind is doing. So training our attention a little bit and being grateful for what we have. So parents, I would invite you to have a look at those resources along with your kids on the PDF. And our takeaway tips from this are make sure our other pillars, so our sleep, food, community, and our movement are all up to snuff, that we're creating a collaborative environment at home that's safe for kids, where we can communicate and use tech properly, provide challenge and choice for kids in their education, especially for those of us who are teachers or are homeschooling kids. Give kids some responsibility and give them challenge and help them through projects. Then start your mindfulness practice with 2 minutes a day and track your habit and your mental state or your emotions, and then set time limits on and rules on how technology can be used in the household, and introduce healthy habits in their place. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll pass it back over to Jeff.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, Brendan. Thank you. So guys, just to remind you, every presenter is giving some info. We're doing an activity together, the movement, the breath, and then there's experiments, and the experiments are for you guys to keep trying at home. There's that PDF that has the listing of all of them, and it has all the resources to keep doing this together. There's the habit tracker, which we invite you guys as a family to do together. You write down things you want to do every day, and then you put a little X in each box if you did it. And if you didn't do it, that's totally cool. This is not to be perfect. It's to start to practice doing something together. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Abby, who's going to talk to us about sleep.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm from West Virginia in the States. I have been teaching for the past 5 years. I'm going to talk to you about sleep. So first, I want to share some of my personal journey with sleep. 2 or 3 years ago, I was experiencing sleep without rest. Every evening, I'd go to bed, struggle for 2 hours to fall asleep, and then I'd wake up every 2 or 3 hours like clockwork. It was miserable. It's like I was just surviving life in zombie mode. So I started removing behaviors that were obviously counterproductive to restful sleep. So by show of hands, how many of you know you're doing something regularly that does not promote healthy sleep? My hand's up too. I'm still improving. Yeah. So before we talk about behavior changes, let's understand some about what happens during sleep and why it's important. So first of all, during sleep, our body regenerates cells and it stocks our immune system. If you think of your body like Walmart, Costco, or some other big box store, at night a special crew of workers, they come in, they stock the shelf with fresh products, and they rotate out old product. This is most efficient when the store is closed and has no interfering activity. Think of that like your body. Your body can only restock and regenerate when it's asleep. That's when it's most effective. Also, cleaning and removal of waste occurs when you sleep. As your brain functions throughout the day, toxic byproducts like proteins associated with dementia are left in the surrounding environment. So if we stick with that big box store analogy, again, it's most efficient when it's shut down. And actually the cleaning agent called glymph in your brain doesn't activate unless you are asleep. So third, and this is my favorite, memory consolidation happens when you sleep. So if we change our analogy and you think of it like a jump drive. So every wake cycle is like recording information on a USB drive. When you sleep, all the information stored gets replayed and transferred to long-term storage. So you take all your short-term memories from your jump drive and transfer it to long-term storage in your brain. So this brings us to why it's important. You can't learn if you haven't transferred your information. So no sleep means no transfer, and you're working on an overloaded jump drive. You can't store new memories, and you haven't transferred any of your new memories that you did have into your long-term storage. So sleep's also important because of optimal health. Like I just said, the toxic byproducts that are associated with dementia and Alzheimer's, those get built up in your brain. So not sleeping creates a buildup, those toxins are stuck there, and then that increases the likelihood of developing dementia and other poor diseases. Also, the stalking of your immune system, if it's not permitted by you going to sleep, you're more susceptible to other diseases. There's a long list, and unfortunately, those include cancer. So I don't know about you, but those reasons alone are enough to convince me that I need to prioritize my sleep. So some sleep tips from one of the leading health experts, Matthew Walker. You'll find all of these in your booklet in the PDF. Number one, have a consistent sleep schedule. Go to bed, wake up at the same time each day. You can use an alarm to indicate your bedtime. We often use alarms to tell us when to get up, but we don't really use it to tell us when to go to sleep. And then number two, not exercising 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. Jeff, I think it's down a little bit further if you look. Yeah, there we go. So number three, avoid caffeine and nicotine. Also avoiding large meals or beverages late at night. Avoiding medicines that delay or disrupt sleep. Not taking naps after 3 p.m. Relax before bed. Take a hot bath or shower before bed. Create a dark, cool, screen-free bedroom environment. Get at least 30 minutes of natural sunlight exposure during the day and try to get sunlight first thing when you wake up. And then don't lay in bed awake. If after 20 minutes you're still lying awake, get up, do a relaxing activity until you feel sleepy. The big thing with these tips is making your bedroom like a sleep sanctuary. You want to prioritize it so that your brain associates your bedroom with sleeping. So the big takeaway from that list that I have is 3 conditions for an ideal sleep environment. You want a dark, cold, screen-free environment. You want it dark because your body has this thing called an internal clock. We call it the circadian rhythm. So if you can think of some light that we have as an indicator that tells us maybe when we should be awake versus when we should be asleep, can we share that in the chat? So parents or kids, what big light do we have that tells us maybe when we should be awake versus when we should be asleep? You can hop on and share it, or you can send it in the chat. Yes, the sun. Awesome. So we have this giant thing that we're rotating around, that we're circling as Earth beings, that tells us when we should be awake and when we should be asleep. So then also that sun that we're rotating around helps us determine our temperature. Your body actually has to drop 1 to 2 degrees to fall asleep. Again, that comes part of your circadian rhythm because during the day it's warmer, and then during the evening and nighttime it's colder. And then the last one for your ideal sleep environment is screen-free. Anytime you're looking at a screen, you have light coming into your eyes, and it tricks your body to thinking that it's daytime, and it suppresses the signals for your internal clock that tells you to go to sleep. So now that we've went through these tips, we're going to do a little bit of an activity, which is going to be more discussion, or if you've printed out the little booklet that we gave you, you can write it out with your family. So number one, how do you feel during sleep? Do you have trouble sleeping? What I want is parents lead this discussion. You share first. How do you feel when you sleep? Do you have trouble sleeping? If you have little ones that need help figuring out an emotion to label this with, there's also the emotions chart available. So I'll look for 1 or 2 people if you'll share. Parents, how do you feel during sleep? I know last night I had a really good sleep, so I felt amazing. I was at peace. It was awesome. But if you asked me 2 or 3 years ago when I was struggling, I would have said I was frustrated and angry and stressed. Do you have anyone brave enough to hop on? How do you feel during sleep? If you have kids that want to share, absolutely share. This is an open discussion.
I usually sleep pretty well. I'm completely different than my husband. I go to sleep well, like you said. I try to limit technology, and I don't eat, like my last meal usually is around like 6 or 7. And what else? So no technology, I don't eat much. I go to sleep well, I stay asleep, but I do like it also cold and dark, like you said.
That's
so
awesome.
I usually don't have that problem versus Marius. He has some difficulty staying asleep. He can talk about it a little bit.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I usually sleep about 4 or 5 hours and then wake up in the middle of the night with lots of energy.
Well, hopefully we can give you some tips and you can help work on creating a plan to get that together. It sounds like you guys have a little bit of diversity there in your house. Anyone
Yes.
else?
So I'd actually like to share. I spent the last 2 months in a very natural environment away from Miami, and I was literally falling asleep by 9 p.m. Like my body was just falling asleep, and I was ready for bed. And now I'm back in Miami. There's so many lights and so much going on that it's 10:30 and I'm still totally awake, and I couldn't fall asleep last night. And I thought it was very interesting how our bodies really are so sensitive to the lights that are around us, and our body starts to think that these bright lights from cars, from buildings, are like the sun, and it doesn't turn on the falling asleep program, which is very interesting.
Yeah. Jeff, I grew up in a rural area in West Virginia, so it was common for us to lose electricity. Then the weeks that we would be without electricity were awesome for sleep. Everything was super quiet. There was one summer that was miserable, but just like you said, the whole light indicator, it's phenomenal what being in a city environment does to your body. Anyone, last one you want to share? All right, if not, we'll move to the second question. So how do you feel when you wake up? 1 and 2 get tied together pretty close. So any differences in how you feel when you wake up?
I think Sarah's got
Sarah?
Hi, I wanted to share about sleep. I also was a horrible sleeper. I didn't even realize it. I just thought that's how everyone slept. And I used a lot of the suggestions that you said. But one of the things that I learned, I used to live in Israel, and everybody there has blackout shades. That's just the way the houses are made, and that's just the way it is. And when I moved back to America, the first thing I did was went to Home Depot and got blackout shades, and it really did change because you can remove the light from your room, but if your window is open and lights from the streets come in, it's really disturbing. And I actually just moved, and there is a street light right outside my window, and the first thing I do when I move is go buy new window shades. And I think you don't have to get really expensive ones. They have them at Home Depot, and I only put them in my bedroom. I don't think it's necessary for other rooms. It's made a big difference in blocking out unnecessary light that you don't want in your bedroom.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Linda, I see you shared in the chat. You said you still feel tired when you wake up. That's been me a few days this week too. It's a refining work, that's for sure. Any others want to share? Brendan, you said you find it super hard waking up before the sun recently. Yes, I identify with that. Once the lights are on, it gets better. Yes, it's a huge adjustment period. I remember back when our daylight savings time started, and it was bright out at 6 a.m. I couldn't do anything to not get up at 6 a.m. I wanted to sleep until 7 some days, but my body was up because it was light out. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to question number 3. So this is kind of the analysis part where I started looking at what was preventing me from sleeping. So some of you have already shared, we noticed that the light is preventing us from sleeping. Sarah just shared that she got blackout curtains to help make a darker environment in her bedroom. So what things do you see, either collectively as a family or as individuals, that you might be doing, or things that you could do to improve your sleep? So what's preventing you from sleeping? Are you on your phones late? Do we have screens out? Is there too much light? What kind of things do we see preventing us from getting good sleep?
So if anybody wants to share, just jump in.
Well, hello. Actually, I'm using since like a month now this like feature in the phone in which the screen goes black and gray. Not only it blocks out like the blue light, which leaves you like a reddish screen, but it turns like just a grayscale, you know, screen. And it not only does it help me not get so much light in, but also it looks a little bit dull, the phone, so it's not that interesting anymore to see, you know. So it's like okay, and it's prompting me to go to bed, because it is no more it's no time to see your phone anymore, no. So yeah, that's been helping me out quite a bit lately.
That's awesome, Marco. Yeah, not having all those colors on the screen that are enticing to your brain definitely helps. I see someone, I forget who it was, someone said their Netflix subscription is preventing them from sleeping. Yes. And then just like ultimately staying up too late. One thing I've had to start doing, I start paying attention to my dog Diesel, because he always goes to bed right around like 9 o'clock, which is when it gets dark. So I'm like, oh, Diesel is no longer in the room. It's time for bed. Yeah, I see a lot of people popping on with preventions that are like technology related. I think it's bizarre, but there are apps and things like that that will indicate to you that you can shut it off. I use Do Not Disturb. I use airplane mode. I set alarms on my phone to put them up so that I can actually get good rest. Because ideally, if you're struggling with too much screen time before bed, you need to set like an alarm 1 to 2 hours before you want to go to sleep to remove all screens, which is difficult in today's day and age, but it is doable. All right, any last ones to share before we move on to our last question?
I also think as well, for me, is actually, I've done it for probably a couple of years now, is not using my phone, like not having my phone in my bedroom. I don't sleep with it in there. So sometimes I do work too late and am on my phone quite close to going to bed, but I'll always leave my phone out in the lounge room. So then when the alarm goes off, I have to get up. And so if you do stir or something during the night, like it's crazy, but sometimes people are restless and they'll grab their phone during the night. So I think if it's completely out of your bedroom, then you just have absolutely no technology in your room, and that's really helped me.
Absolutely, Sarah. That was a game changer for me, just getting all of the distractions out of my bedroom, particularly that cell phone. All right, so let's wrap up with our last one. Number 4, this is going to kind of transpire into the experiment you guys get to do as a family. Which 2 or 3 of the 12 sleep tips would you like to try to improve your sleep? So as you discuss these as a family, the things that you're going to try to do to create an ideal sleep environment or to create like a nighttime ritual. Some suggestions from our team included maybe reading a book together, make like a story time before you go to bed, just incorporate that as part of your evening. I work with teenagers, so it's actually phenomenal. Big kids like reading too, especially when you make it a story time being read to. I know some other people have done like candlelight ceremonies where once it starts getting dark, they'll do only candlelight and turn off anything that's electric related. Other things to help you relax and just kind of down regulate, you could do a breath work like Brendan just did the meditation. So those are all useful tips. So your homework is going to be picking 2 or 3 tips that you're going to try to improve. And then again, you can put those on a habit tracker. So again, in the PDF that we gave you, I've given you a list of what I try to do. Mine, I have a screen curfew at 9 p.m. Usually tonight might be an exception. We'll see. And then it's de-stressing for me to clean my kitchen. That's therapeutic. So I like to clean my kitchen because that makes me stress-free. Taking a warm shower helps regulate your body temperature. And then I usually read and pray before I go to bed. So that's your experiment. Make a routine with your family. I'll let some of you share if you have ideas before we move on to our next pillar. And then a bonus added to that habit tracker is if you start journaling how you feel during sleep or when you wake up, you might start noticing patterns between, okay, these are the good things that you did, or maybe the things you didn't do so great, and see how that's affecting your sleep. So do we have any families that have ideas of what they might do to promote restful sleep?
We definitely read and pray before going to bed. That helps.
Awesome.
We do it kind of late, so I think maybe doing it a little bit earlier will help for the whole family. So we're all, because we have all different hours of sleep, it seems like. Like I like to go to sleep early, and the boys, all three of them like to go to bed late. So that's a challenge.
Yes.
Yeah, and just that technology, I feel like just shutting it off helps so much, and just being disciplined about it, and yeah, we just need to kind of get on the same page.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Ideas for nighttime healthy sleep routine?
I'll chime in, Abby. We don't do this all the time, but when we do, it really helps us really calm down. So we turn all the overhead lights off, and we just have salt lamps or candles. And we're getting into a habit of bringing out the drum and the singing bowl and bongo drums, and we just would play some kind of really beautiful, I guess it's like a tribal music. Just a jam session, and we're so not a musical family, but the boys have good rhythm, and I just try and keep up. So it's a beautiful way for our family to wind down.
Right, that sounds amazing. Thanks for sharing. I see here, I think from Jules, we once shared that they go for an evening walk, watch the sunset, and the kids love it. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good idea.
All right. Well, thank you all. I'll go ahead and throw back to Jeff so that we can move on to our next pillar.
All right. So thank you, Abby. Everybody give Abby a little fingers, spirit fingers. Yeah. All right. All right. So as you guys may be noticing, all of these pillars kind of, they all play with each other together, because health is really not just about how we move. It's not just about how our mind is working. It's not just about sleep. It's about all of it together. And so as you see, these experiments are all going to weave together. And so since we've been talking about sleep, before we go into food and community, we wanted to bring Ruth back in to give us a little bit of movement and get us back in the zone. All right, so I'm going to pass it to Ruth, and everybody stand up so we can do some more movement together.
Everybody stand up. So good to see you all standing. We're just going to take our arms overhead, grab your hands together, and side bend right and left. Move as much of your body as you can. Good. Now stay to the left. Stay all the way down on the left. Make some sound if you need to. And then come on over to the other side and stay there. Reach, 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 reach. Stretch underneath your armpits, and then come back to the center. Take your 2 lobster claws out in front of you like this. Lobster claws. Adults too, get your lobster claws up and grab your opposite earlobes. Now separate your feet about hip distance or a little wider apart. Maybe you turn your toes out a tiny bit, or maybe you don't. And at your own pace, do 5 squats. And on the way up, say, I love to play. I love to play. I love to play. I love to play. I can't even hear you. I love to play. And then stop and switch. Switch your lobster claws out. Separate your feet and do it all again. And this time say, I love my community. I love my community. I love fun. I love to have fun. I love to have fun. I love to have fun. And then just shake it all up. And then I'm going to turn it back over to Jeff for the next pillar. See you later.
All right. So great way to go into some food talk with Claire. And
hello. Hello. Yeah. So I'm Claire, and I'm a naturopath, nutritionist naturopath here in Melbourne, and this is my 9-year-old daughter Isla. And the question that I get asked the most in clinic or around nutrition is not normally what to feed the kids, because I tend to find that most people understand the difference between what a healthy food is and what a not healthy food is. So maybe, who thinks they know what a healthy food is? Put your hand up for me. Okay. So the challenge tends to be how to get kids to eat those healthy foods. So I thought I'd steer my talk in that direction today instead. So a little bit more on the how and a little bit less on the what. Really, it's about nurturing really good relationships with food, okay? And the younger that you start that, the better. It's by far the most important thing. It's far more important than nutrition. So the number one thing I want parents to remember is that you don't have to be a nutritionist. And if you look at, got that one? What we're going to do today, just to get the kids involved, Isla's actually made a little creation with her fruits and vegetables. And it's going to be about just getting children involved at that level. Okay, so if everybody could get, if all of the kids could get their fresh fruit and vegetables, and what I'd like you to do is make the craziest monsters or the craziest bug or whatever you can think of. And I'd love to see some photos in the chat or even in the Instagram feed after our call today. So the fundamental thing that I want people to remember is that children are natural explorers. They play, they use every one of their senses, and that includes when they're eating as well. It's not just about their taste. It's about engaging their senses, their eyes, their nose, and in particular, their hands. And there's going to be a lot of people who don't like that idea. You've got to remember that children, and you see it in babies and toddlers, they have that natural hand-to-mouth action. And that's really all of these things, all of these fun things and all of these senses are what we want to capitalise on when we're trying to get kids to eat healthy foods. Because the more you can get things to happen in a natural environment, and the more you can create sort of a place where children can do these things that they would do naturally, the more luck you've got when it comes to getting them to make better food choices for the future. So today, I'd like everyone to maybe have a think about their normal mealtime rituals, and maybe put your hand up if what you do is sitting at a table with a meal with your own plate and with utensils. So put your hand up for me if that's what you do. Is there anything that anybody does that any differently to that? What's mealtime look like for you guys? I'd love to see some answers in the chat. When you're dealing with young children, you know, it's not very engaging, I don't think. Do you think that's engaging? Do you think that's fun?
Yeah.
You think she's crazy?
We definitely allow ours not to use cutlery. Like we don't, whatever they're eating, like it's not, my mum doesn't cope very well with that, but like we don't really mind about cutlery.
Fantastic.
And at times we do a lot of finger foods, but we still at dinner, it is predominantly, a plate that, oh, that looks good.
Yeah. And that's a great balance to have, and really it's about getting them involved
you know, as young as possible at any stage of the preparation and that sort of stuff. And then if you can do that, as you say, with the finger foods and the pickup foods, which we're going to talk about in a minute, you know, it does evolve, you know, into, you know, the meal times and that sort of stuff down the track. But I guess the focus, what I'd like to try and sort of point out here is that one of my number one tips is really just to make food fun for kids. And it sounds like a lot of work, but it really doesn't have to be. As a parent, how did I get Isla, and I've got 2 children, how did I get them involved with, you know, good, wholesome food? It needs to start well and truly before you're at the dinner table. So when I'm talking about things like if you can grow anything in a pot, even if it's just the smallest herb or the smallest strawberry plant or something, I can tell you now, none of our strawberries or snow peas have ever made it to the house from the garden, ever. And then things like the prepping or the shopping. So maybe if you could even consider taking them, if you're not in lockdown, taking them to the, you know, to the shopping centre or the supermarket or the fruit market or wherever it is that you get your produce from, if you're buying, and get them engaged. Get them to choose one, maybe fresh fruit or vegetable. It doesn't matter how obscure it is. It doesn't matter if you have no idea how to cook it. This is important in the process of getting some ownership back into the children and some independence and some interest. If they're interested in it, then you follow suit and you engage with them as well. A lot of the time, with respect to the other pillars, everyone else today has been talking about engaging the kids and coming in at their level. That's really what you need to do with the food as well, because the worst thing you could possibly do is sort of turn around at the get-go. If they've picked up an eggplant, you've got no idea what an eggplant is or no idea how to cook that. You don't want to turn around to them and say no and cut it at the base, because you know that's pretty much where you're going to start to lose their interest right from the get-go.
Speaking of weird foods, who knows, kids, who knows what this is?
Alrighty. I actually can't see the chat for some reason, but that's cool.
Who knows what this is?
There we go. We do picnics for lunch, sit on the ground, eat with our... Oh, here we go. That's better. Now I can see.
Come on, someone's got to know.
Dragon fruit.
Is it a dragon?
All right.
Right.
Look at this one. Look at the inside. It's weird and red.
Sorry guys, here we go. That's better. Now I've got that. We do picnics for lunch and sit on the ground and eat with our hands. Fantastic. That's awesome, Jules. That's actually completely perfect. Again, that normal hand-to-mouth action. You know, sitting on the ground also helps to do some really cool things, like it aligns all of our digestive organs, and it improves digestion, would you believe? A couple of tips. Actually, one of my favourite things, let's do it this way. One of my favourite things to do, as a lot of people have already mentioned, is a great big tasting platter, or what we call pickup food. What we call pickup food in our house. Now, again, don't overthink it. You know, in terms of the nutrition and that sort of thing, the number one thing that you need to look at is the variety and the different colours. So you've got that sort of eye appeal, but also at the end of the day, if you've got lots of colours on that plate, you're also pretty much ensured to get a really good variety of food. So the nutrition and the specifics can come later. This is something that we put in the middle of the table, and it's so important that parents lead by example, as everyone else has sort of said from their other pillars as well. Leading by example, it means that everyone has their hands going into that one central bowl. If you've got, obviously, if you've got, you could separate it out into individual containers here as well. But the idea here is that it's a grazing plate. They eat as much as they like, they finish when they like, and then you literally put the container, the lid back on the container, and you put it back into the fridge at their eye level, so that when they're hungry, that's what they can go and take out of the fridge again. Okay, so they're still developing that sense of autonomy and independence, but it's still very much within the structure of, you know, what you've actually put onto that plate. The other way that we do things in our house is that we leave random fruit bowls in different places. And when I say fruit bowls, I mean, it can be things like nuts, anything that's sort of bite-sized, okay? Fruit, berries, all of that sort of stuff. When my children were younger, I actually even just put it on a chair so that they could see it. And, you know, again, it's just about developing their connection between whole foods and I suppose, you know, their choice. Now, things like skewers, toothpicks, dips, you know, all of these different things, again, just allow for crazy combinations, allow for crazy sort of, you know, taste combinations, color combinations. And unfortunately, it's usually going to mean a lot of mess. So as Jules has pointed out, and as a few people have said in the chat, picnics on the ground, inside, you know, on an old blanket or towel or something, or if you can, even better, get outside and change the environment. Again, there's a lot of science behind sitting on the ground, but I won't go into that. It's really just about making it fun and engaging for the kids and being inclusive as well. As a parent, you know, or sorry, as a family, you want to be able to do the same thing with everybody, and you want to be able to lead by example. The other thing that's really important, especially for the younger kids, bite-sized pieces, okay? You would be surprised, or maybe not, as an adult, you know, if there's a tasting plate, we are so much more likely to just stand and put things in our mouth and engage with some of those whole foods, as opposed to if you've got, you know, a whole fruit. And not only that, you're not going to be wasting the whole fruit either if you're chopping up pieces and they're only taking what they want. When I say whole foods, as in its natural state, in the most natural state as possible. So obviously things like raw fruits and vegetables, bright colours, that you're going to get there, but also things like maybe hard-boiled eggs, nuts, meats, cold meats if that's your thing, and as I said before, things like dips or even just crackers. Now, with respect to crackers and packaging, I won't go into that too much, but the fewer ingredients, the better. So we're really just, again, trying to keep kids in that whole food in that relationship, or develop that relationship with those whole foods so that they can actually see what those foods look like and start to learn that they're, you know, good choices to make. They'll also start to feel better, feel really good eating these foods as well. You know, and that sort of connection can be made. So I've got a couple of other sort of little activities for the kids to do. This is for later on. For the younger kids, and again, I'm not going to screen share, I'll just hold this up. Jeff, if you've got that one there. This is a rainbow food chart. So for the younger kids, what I'd love people to do is maybe list as many different foods in each of the rainbow category. There we go, thank you. As many different foods as you can from every colour of the rainbow, okay? But the number one rule, or the only rule, is that it's not allowed to have packaging. So it has to be fresh. It has to have grown that way. And whether it's, you know, a fruit or a vegetable or a nut, okay? So see how many you can come up with. And for the older kids, there's a healthy food choices poster in there, and it's really just starting to, I think it's in there. There it is. Look, that's really to start the conversation, okay? This is where you start to get in with the language around nutrition, nutrients, and things like that. It doesn't have to come for a very long time, but there are kids who are really inquisitive about it. So understanding that things like protein are really good for muscles and growth and making you strong. Understanding that fat is really good for your brain and, you know, and making you smart and learn new things. Starches are really good energy food for all that movement and jumping around and bouncing and playing. Vegetables are really good for your tummy, okay? So they're really good to make your tummy healthy. Fruit is a happy food and a mood food. And down the bottom there, I've got a free choice. And again, this is really important, especially for the fussy eaters. This is almost a bargaining chip, but it's also just letting the kids have a bit of ownership of what they're eating. And that's really important. If rather than telling them what they're going to do, it's really important to get down on their level and say, right, how are we going to do this together, and come up with middle grounds and then make it an evolution from there. So, all right, so look, that's probably a bit of a summary of how I would suggest putting forward new food choices with kids. But I would love to hear, you know, any feedback or any tips or anything that anybody else has got, and anything else that you guys do in your home, because, you know, the more information that we're throwing into the cauldron, the better. So that's it, and I would love to hear, yeah, love to hear everyone's point of view. Back to Jeff.
Thank you, Claire. It's amazing to watch Claire try to summarize all of her incredible knowledge about food into just this little section. You know, I want to take a quick minute before we move to Georgina to let you guys know you can connect with any of these foot nerds through either I guess through their email, which you all should have their email from the emails that we sent out to you guys, or on Instagram. Natural Body Lab is Claire, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Right, Natural Body. I don't know if it's Nature or Natural Body Lab.
Natural Body Lab, that's right.
Right, yeah. We have A Holleron, we have Long_Brandon, we have O'Donnell.Ruth, and Awaken Vibrancy, which is Georgina, who's coming up. She's going to be talking to us about community, and she has a really special take on community. I know it's late. If you have to hop off, that's fine. We're recording this, so we'll send it to you guys. And don't forget to hop into the WhatsApp chat where we're going to keep these experiments and feedback going. Georgina, take it away. Take us home.
Thanks, Jeff. Hello, friends. I'm Georgina from Melbourne, Australia, and the topic I'm covering today is community. So community is essentially a collective of people coming together. It might be because they live in the same place, they might have the same interests, or they might just belong to the same club, for example. And so feeling like you belong to a community is so very important for our well-being, our happiness, and our emotional resilience. So as a young child, our awareness of community is really our immediate family. So maybe mum and dad, caregivers, maybe neighbours, maybe a few family friends. Then as we grow a bit older and we might go to school, if we do go to school, then we will branch out and be involved in the school community. And then you might play sport or learn a musical instrument. So then you have the awareness of those communities also. And then when we get into adulthood, it's likely we will be involved in many different community connections, and these can be so nourishing, and they play a part in identifying for us a sense of belonging, safety, and connection to like-minded people. So here in what was sunny Melbourne a moment ago, and now it's pouring with rain, we are currently in lockdown with tight restrictions. So I haven't been able to go to the gym for months, and I've really been reflecting on that and realized how important that community, the gym community, is to me. Catching up with friends and having a laugh and exercising together. And I've identified that as a very much something that helps me with my well-being, and I've really, really missed it. So when we can't connect with our community in the physical, well, then we need to find other ways to connect, and coming together like this online is such a fabulous way to form this amazing community of people all over the world. My boys haven't been able to see their friends recently with this lockdown. So one way they connected was to post a parcel to one of their mutual friends who's been feeling a little bit sad recently. My boys made tiny little envelopes, and inside them they put some lettuce seeds, some radish, some tomatoes, a tub of soil, and a note asking their friend to give them a call when he received the package. So with the idea that together they would grow these plants and they would connect in with each other to see how the progress was going. Just such a beautiful, beautiful way to connect. So an example to highlight the importance of community is to reflect on our ancestral times. and we used to live in small tribal communities. It's instinctual human behavior or nature to come together and live with others rather than go solo. So in a tribe, imagine an individual that might have been isolated from their community for whatever reason. So they have to just go solo, and they have to, you know, find food on their own. They have to build their own shelter. They have to be on alert all the time to look out for danger. And all the while they're their own friend. So they've got no one else to speak to or share ideas with. And look, it's important to be able to do things on our own. But when we are part of a community or a team, the load is lightened. When people are in a tribe, the jobs are shared. So you might have some that go hunting for food, some that build the shelter, and some that are designated to look out for danger. And all the while, friendship is formed and different relationships. Being part of a tribe helps us to feel safe, secure, happy, and content. My family were fortunate to live for a period of time on a remote property, a school camp that welcomed 70 15-year-old students to live on the camp for 8 weeks. And it was an off-grid place. So, and the focus of the program was to teach sustainability, so of the environment, personal and community sustainability. The students lived in eco-friendly houses with their peers. And I used to really love hearing the welcome speech that my husband would deliver as the director of the campus. He briefly discussed community with the students and ended with the question, what type of community do you want to live in? One that's happy, friendly, one that encourages individuality, one that communicates well, or one that's nasty, unsupportive, and starts gossip? It was the students' choice. As each term, a new community was being formed. And from my perspective, I just found it so fascinating to see these communities unfold over the term. Each one was so different depending on who the individuals were and what they valued. And yeah, it's just really fascinating. I love the saying, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. I also love the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And I really, really believe that. When I had my first son, I had just moved to a different neighborhood. I didn't have family close by, didn't have friends that had children, and I felt quite alone. And I have since really realized, you know, the importance of finding your tribe, finding your people, and building those strong connections to feel supported. So now we're going to move into the activity section of my talk today, which is potting some seeds to grow a plant. The instructions are in the PDF file. I will talk you through this. Don't worry if you don't have the equipment on you, because this is recorded and you can go back and do this at another time. Before we get started, I'll just briefly go through the benefits of growing plants, which I'm sure you already know. But getting our hands dirty when we're gardening, it just helps us ground, helps us connect to the earth and Mother Nature. Growing your own food is so rewarding. Nothing quite tastes like homegrown produce. As Claire was saying, strawberries and snow peas barely ever come into the kitchen because the kids are outside eating them. It's amazing to grow your own food. And I'd love for you to put in the chat if you do grow your own food at home. So also, if you've got plants inside, the color green is so calming for the mind and the body, and it helps the energy of the home and the air quality. And growing plants is also can become a community activity too. So if you grow your own produce, you might be able to share some of that with a neighbor or someone else in the community. We do that quite a lot. We had lots of lemons the other day and we swapped that with a friend and for their produce as well. You could start a community garden or a veggie garden at the school. And as my kids did, you could post seeds to friends and form that connection that way. Now, with the activity today of planting the seeds, one of my intentions behind this activity is it's my hope that as you watch this plant grow, It will be a daily reminder of our call today and the beautiful community that we have connected to with people all over the world. I just think that's so special. So this is going to be very much a symbolism of that. I'm going to call in my sons, Josh and Sam, to come and join us right now. And we're going to get on to doing the potting of the plants. So we've got Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm 10 years old and Mum cut my hair.
That's right. We've got no hairdressers here, so I cut Sam's hair. There we go. And this is?
Hello, I'm Josh. I'm 13 years old and I didn't let Mum cut my hair.
No, Josh is growing his hair like a surfy dude, which is great. So we're going to just do the potting super quickly. If you've got your own things at home, please get those things out now. You need a pot, you need soil, you need seeds. So Josh is going to start putting some potting mix in the pot. There you go, Joshy. You can use your hands, you can use the cup, double hands, double scoop. There we go. So good to touch the earth. Or you could use a cup. So we're going to fill it up, the pot up just near the top. Beautiful. We don't want to push the soil down hard. We just want to put it in like that, nice and gently. Now, Sam, what type of seeds do you have?
Coriander.
Got coriander seeds there. And before we do the planting of the seeds, I just would like us to set an intention with the seeds. So we just get a few out into our hand. Pretend we've got some seeds there. And we're just going to hold the seeds in front of our heart space, closing our eyes and taking a nice deep breath and feeling that love in our heart. And we're really putting that love into these seeds and being really grateful to these seeds to grow a plant that we will be able to eat. Just so much gratitude for Mother Nature. Beautiful. So Sam, take it away. You tell everyone how you're going to pot those seeds.
For every seed, you'll make a hole in the dirt. There.
Yep, so all different seeds are different sizes. So we've got chives and they're quite small. Coriander are a bit bigger. So we're just putting about 4 in there.
And then you just fill it in with the dirt. And then you can get a spray bottle or a watering can and you just spray it so it's just damp.
Beautiful. And where do we need to keep this pot, Sammy?
In a sunny spot.
Sunny spot, and we need to make sure it's watered too. Beautiful. So we're going to really look after that and watch our seeds grow. As I said, there's more info in the PDF. Now, as humans, if we are showered with love and positive words, it helps us grow healthy and happy. And plants are the same. So I really encourage you to love your plants, sing to them, talk to them like it's one of your best friends, and you'll watch them grow nice and healthy and strong. And this is the same with our community also. And, you know, how do we want to speak to our friends? We want to lift each other up and share the love around. Don't we, boys?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So you can hang around, or I'm just going to talk about the next bit. Thank you, boys.
Thank you.
All right, friends, I'm nearly done. The experiment I want to leave with you today is making seed bombs. No, they don't explode, and they're full of love. So it's a good type of bomb. All of the instructions are in the PDF. So what is a seed bomb? A seed bomb are seeds wrapped up in a blanket of earth. There we go. And they're traditionally made from soil, clay, and seeds. And the idea is that you throw these little seed bombs over walls and fences and into areas where you can't access to grow things like wildflowers and herbs. So I encourage, and so when the conditions are perfect, so there's enough water and sunshine, the little seeds will germinate and sprout. And it's pretty exciting to see what will actually come up with these little seed bombs. So I encourage you to experiment with both types of seed bombs I've put in the PDF. So that, as I've shown, is the traditional way with clay, soil and seeds. And this cute little number here, this love heart, is made with recycled paper, and that has sunflowers in there. And I made that shape using a chocolate mold. And the fabulous things about these seed bombs is this is a great way to connect with your community also, because you can plant these, you can share these with friends. You could post them like my sons did to their friend, or you can even like put a few of these in an envelope and drop them around to your neighborhood as a sign of connection and love. So, okay, friends, that's all I've got for you today. Again, remember the symbolism of the potting of the plant that I encourage you all to do. And this is a symbol of the community that we've created here online today. Thank you. Over to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Georgina. That was fantastic. You know, planting plants and seeds has been so magical for us. We've been experimenting. We live on a really high floor in a big apartment building, and our okra plant is taller than I am right now. And it's just been so exciting to see them grow and to create that relationship with plants. And for kids, I never grew a single plant growing up, and I really wish I did. It like the way that I now understand plants and how things grow in nature has totally shifted, and I wish this for every child out there. It's late. We've been here for an hour and a half. We're gonna let you guys go, and I want this chat to continue on WhatsApp. We left you guys with a lot of information, a lot of activities, a lot of experiments, and our hope is that you guys play with these things. You play with the movement. You play with the breath and the mindfulness. You play with the sleep trackers and the sleep activities, with the nutrition, the food, sitting on the floor while you eat, eating with your hands, experimenting with buying different foods that you don't know what they are or how to cook them, planting seeds, making seed bombs, sending them to friends. Let's keep this conversation going. We want to hear from you, so please send questions. Invite your friends who are parents and who are teachers to come into this conversation. Obviously, 7 p.m. Eastern time on a Tuesday. We had 90 plus registrants and about 20 people showed up. So clearly not the best time for this to happen. And that is great information for us. And we're gonna keep crafting this so that we can keep the conversation going, and all data, all feedback is welcome. So please let us know how this was, what we can do differently, what we can improve on. The WhatsApp code again, I'll send it through email. I'll send the link to the recording, and we wish you all a good day, good night. If you have any other questions, we're gonna stay on the line for a couple more minutes. If you wanna just turn off your mute, pop in, ask questions. Thank you so much for attending. We hope that you guys had a lot of fun on this journey with us. Thank you.
Thank you for hosting, Jeff. That was great.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. I really want to thank all of the foot nerds who did so much work. I was just the boat that they sailed on, and they rocked it. And to Abby, to Brendan, to Claire, Georgina, and Ruth in alphabetical order. I already memorized their names. We've been doing a lot of work on the back end to make this a reality, and we hope to keep crafting this together and build a community around connecting with parents and kids in new, fun ways around health. So thank you. Thanks for the thumbs up, buddy.
Thank you.
So if you guys have any questions or anything, just pop them in, or start, speak up. You have your foot nerds here to ask anything at all. And if you have to go, please go. We're just gonna stay back and answer any questions.
I think this was done very well. It was very well rounded with the different things that all the experts talked about. It's really needed nowadays with what everything's going on in the world.
Thank you. Anything in particular that you didn't know about before, that you heard during this chat that you're gonna try or do differently?
For me, it's probably the sleep. I've struggled with that during COVID because I don't have a consistent schedule of work. I haven't had as many clients. I work with clients in person in my studio, and I haven't seen as many in person. And I like to work in person, and doing the online stuff all the time kind of drains me. And I tend to have a hard time sleeping after I do a lot of things on my phone and computer.
Yeah. Thank you.
So definitely to work on the sleeping habits for me.
Yep, it's a journey. It's the
Mm-hmm.
it's, you know, we live in an environment that wasn't really made for our body in very interesting ways. So it's the sleep thing is a conversation that most people tend to have, you know, the difficulty sleeping conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have to go soon, but I wanted to thank Ruth for inviting me to this because it was really interesting and I enjoyed listening to everybody. And in the tragedy that is the reality of COVID and coronavirus, out of that, of being locked up for so long, so to speak, I realized I ended up working on all these different components kind of naturally because I was craving it and needing it. And I finally had the time where I was sort of forced to stay put and my busy life was wiped clean. And I really, really was grateful for that right from the beginning. And, but I think, you know, hearing you all and the way you present it together as these 5 pillars, it's easy to work on all these parts individually, but forget to really continue to look at them as a whole and how interconnected they are. So anyway, I wanted to thank everybody for your time and I appreciated hearing from everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
For coming, Linda. Love you.
I'll call COVID the great filter because it's taken away all the distractions and really have either helped us or forced us to focus on what matters. I'm surprised often at how many people have complained about having their kids around all the time, and I think that it's such a gift to be able to share that time and to learn together and grow together. And the fact that you guys brought your kids in here today is awesome, and thank you for that. You know, I saw the running around, and I personally love that. I was in 2nd grade. I was taped to my desk back when that was allowed, because I would just run around all the time. And well, I'm not going to share my personal views on how much kids should be running around these days, but yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you as well, and I don't know if she's still on here, Ruth, for encouraging the parents to move. Like I do my own exercise and I go walking with the kids, and you know, but my kids have, you know, I know a lot of parents have had trouble getting their kids outside during these COVID times, whereas I have trouble getting my kids inside, which is, I guess, a good problem. And we've got lots of like obstacle courses, and we're really lucky with where we live, set up in our backyard. But you know, I might do it once and be like, done. So I think for me, it was a really good reminder to you know, if I definitely need to move my body more, and not make the excuse of, you know, I'm getting older or whatever's the excuses that we make. And it's okay to feel a bit silly because the kids don't mind or they don't care. And yeah, so make sure that I'm doing the things with them, I guess was a really good reminder. So thanks for that, Ruth.
You're welcome. One thing I noticed is that I tend to be I've taught physical education for long periods of time to little people, and I am not very comfortable to this day moving in silly ways. But the thing that keeps me going is that the children, no matter how young or old they are, even into high school, they act as if they are maybe embarrassed of an adult moving in the way that they move, or they seem, but they really do appreciate our example, and it frees them up to explore more. And I think what I've noticed is that the sillier or the more free that we are with our bodies and the more engaged we are with our own adult bodies, they really do take benefit from that. And even though they act as, you know, just like they act embarrassed of you, maybe, that they are really thankful that they have the adult example to follow. That's one thing I've noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. If there are no more questions, I think we'll wrap it up. If the 5 of you could stay on for a minute, and for the rest of you, thank you so much. Again, I'll send out the WhatsApp group. Again, Jules, if you here, let me just drop it in here really quick before you hop off. Here's the, oops, here it is. If I'll send it through email also, so you can catch it on your phone. And see you guys.
Bye, friends. Hey, Kim. Hey, Liz.
Hello.
Hi, Recombi people. Hi, Recombi.
Kim wants to say he doesn't like vegetables if anyone has recipes, he said.